Back to another episode of the GOAT Marketing Show. Sorry, that wasn't the smoothest opening. I got recorded midway through, but welcome to see all of you. And given the fact that AI went down or Chat GPT went down, we are going to make this week more about AI in general and some of the things that are going on with it. John did actually break it. I think he may have solely been responsible for Chat GPT going down and drive me crazy for about 45 minutes yesterday, but we'll forgive you, John.
I'm not claiming responsibility for that in any way.
What I will say, and this is probably other than John talking about how he did break it, is they did roll out an enterprise function. So I am sure that that had something to do with it. But the one thing we did want to talk about in general, last week we talked about how Watson is generally, AI has been here for a long time. But one of the more inconspicuous ways you may see AI around is how social posts and how social algorithms work. And while albeit it may not be an obvious use of AI, the way that they process information and what's been interesting to see over the last, I would say, 18 to 24 months, all of the social platforms, the moment they decided to enable their own way to do closed captioning or eventually turn what was audio and a video to speech, they were able to process the information in the language using AI, a language processing model, to help segment and basically figure out who do I want to take this, what's the context of this video, and who should I show it to. So when you start to create content, it's really important to understand the context, not just from how you set up ChatGPT to write scripts or write posts, but understand the way you should communicate with an audience. So the focus of today's episode is going to be how to be more human in an AI-driven world, and then the importance of it, and then how you're going to later be able to use that to set some context. And we did a fun experiment, but before we dive into that, Ben's got some cool brain hacking stuff with AI.
It's not even brain hacking. It's not even related to marketing directly. But in preparation for an episode of the AI podcast that wasn't about ChatGPT, I thought, what about not even doing it about marketing in general? And one of the really cool news items that came out in the last couple of days was a brain research team had been using a combination of implants and AI technology to use brain waves and translate it into speech for people who have suffered paralysis or epilepsy and have become nonverbal. And obviously the medical uses and implications of that are quite obvious. Being able to restore someone's ability to communicate is a profound advancement in medical science. But as that becomes more of a commonplace thing, it also solves yet another data rate issue with AI, where our outputs already have increased significantly in terms of speed. But now your inputs could be almost instantaneously as that technology advances. And so it was really interesting from the obvious medical side of it. But as that kind of science becomes more commonplace, we're going to see another exponential increase in our ability to input and output using AI.
It's pretty incredible. I can't wait until I can upgrade my brain by putting a chip in it. I have no doubt at some point in our future we'll kind of see that.
It's coming.
Inevitably. What do they call that when you're half robot, half
cyborg?
Cyborg. Yeah, we're on the path.
Already kind of are, right? Aren't we already kind of cyborgs? Just having cell phones.
Yep, I feel pretty dependent, especially with how mad I was yesterday with Chat GPT going down. Of course, it's mid work stream. I only had an hour to get something done, and that was the majority of being down. So it is crazy how much you can become dependent on certain technologies. But speaking of technologies, one of the things in terms of context, and we ran a little experiment, and it was driven out of some frustration yesterday. So I'm sure some of you may have seen the LinkedIn post, but for those who haven't, I had been just inundated in the past 2 weeks with spam emails on LinkedIn about leads. And I figured it was a good opportunity to show the importance of context and how an algorithm works. Now, most of the posts I had been putting out, they were, reshares of other content, news articles, you name it. But in the spirit of truly showing how AI works within the context of a social platform, I did a live video post about my frustration with spam posts, because I know it was a common problem that other people have. And then I tagged some people in that post to helping with the engagement. And it's nothing by viral means by any standpoint, but the last time I had checked it, normal posts would get 10, 20 views. This one has already had close to 2,000 impressions and 500 unique views. So just by understanding the context of how a platform works and leaning into it, we can get exponential results. Now, one thing I want to add as a caveat: when people look at social posts in general, there is a really well-written article by Kevin Kelly in Wired Magazine called 1,000 True Fans. And the purpose of the article is to help build context around, if you have a core audience of 1,000 people, it's pretty easy to scale any business. You can come up with an offer that those people will buy, and you could basically make any 6-7 figure business. So when you're using any type of social platform, it's important to understand how that algorithm works and not game the system, but more importantly, lean into what that algorithm is trying to accomplish and then match the context to what that platform's looking for. So in the sense of LinkedIn, the whole post was driven around, how can I help people connect? That is the original core purpose of that platform. When it's on other things like YouTube, they're there to usually teach a skill or have some binge-worthy content. So whatever you're doing when it comes to leveraging and understanding more about how AI works, understand the importance of context and matching it to the platform, and you will get more reach. And to the point about 1,000 true fans, you don't need 1 million views on a platform. You just need a couple hundred of the right people to build the foundation to be successful online and find your customers. Anything you guys would add to that? You kind of saw the behind the scenes on the experiment while I was doing it.
No, I think it's a good reminder that, as we continue to use AI more, that it still is about the people using it. Like, we're not replacing humanity. We're just trying to make it better and trying to make a better world with it. So I really appreciated that you took the time to remind people that it really is still it's about the people, it's about the relationships, it's about the network, and AI that we use is just, trying to improve the opportunities in that. So I think that's a good reminder as we get deeper into this, that's still a huge value of what we do.
Well, it's ironic because what Ben talked about literally was solving someone's ability to hear.
Yeah, it's a cool, there's a sports reference that comes to mind when talking about the post that you made, because the thing that I loved the most of it was the shared aspect of it, and leveraging people within your network to increase the reach. It was kind of a win-win. There's something that we say in hockey is that the slowest way to get the puck up the ice is to skate it, and the fastest way is to pass it. And so you were using this kind of spider web effect to get a message in front of as many eyes as possible. And it just seemed like quite a layup to get those impressions. I thought that was the coolest part.
It was, and I'll be honest, it was done genuinely. I am very frustrated by the spam. I do want the people in that post, they genuinely are people that I believe in and trust. The timing of it kind of worked out to show the power of matching context and the structure of a platform to get more reach than normal. And it continues to work. Even as I look at it now, I think it continues to grow over 600 views, which for not being as active as I should be on the platform is a pretty decent. And to be honest, 600 views, that's filling 3 movie theaters, to put it in context. So when you think about scale or reach on a social platform and you see some numbers and they might be lower to compare to some people have thousands, just think about it in real life comparison and look at more meaningful things like view time. Is somebody watching the whole thing? I'd rather have 100 people watch the whole thing than thousands tune in for a split second. So just be wary, understand the platform, match context, and just go try some stuff. You'd be amazed what you'll figure out. So, John, how did you break ChatGPT yesterday?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. And there is a component of it that does tie in with all of this. And the way that I did break it was it lost, like, one thing that we really try to do when we use it is keep that human component, make it sound like it's not being produced by an AI. Like, that's the last thing we want, is that tone. And so one thing that I tried to do was, we do social content calendars for a lot of our clients, and so I was trying to find a way to get the most efficiency out of getting September social calendar done. And I tried actually importing the full calendar file, the Excel file, into GPT, and I had, like, there was a topic column, there was the supporting links for CTAs, and then the copy column. And I said, use these first two columns to create the third column and create the actual social post. I just wanted to see if it could do it that way. And what it turned out was the least creative, the least, like, human posts that I've ever heard in my life. And it did it. Like, it made all of the posts in one batch, and it did what I asked, in a sense. But when I went through it again, and I took the time and I did them one at a time, and I prompted it more like as I would prompt it, and with greater context, it did turn out what we actually want and what we actually want to produce for people. And obviously I still go in and edit it and all that stuff. But I just thought it was funny how it was, in a sense, it was me being lazy. Like, I was walking the line between efficiency and laziness. And I think it was a good lesson learned that, like, there is a difference between efficiency and being lazy. And I learned it there, because that did not work for me. But I mean, at least I tried it. At least I learned. I did what we preach. I experimented. I tried something new, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, you learn from it. So that was my experience this week.
It's funny, like, it's definitely coming into probably one of our busiest seasons, hands down. Like, the fall, between travel, client work, deliverables, it's busy. And I think a lot of people fight the temptation to try to work quickly and to get the most efficiency out of chat. Like, that first 10 minutes you spend developing context, I think, will determine how the balance of its sessions go. Mm-hmm. And if you just slow down, set it up, the quality of the output is so much better than the gobbledygook. If you just say, hey, give me like 10 post ideas for a Eggs Benedict.
Yeah. It's the same like principle of, like, when I was a kid and my mom would be like, would you, like, why throw your clothes on the ground and then put them in the hamper later? That's twice as much work. Like, you have to go back and do it again anyway. So why not just do it properly the first time, and then you're actually saving yourself some time.
It's our favorite saying to clients. The most expensive website you build is the one you build twice.
Yep.
Ben, anything you want to add?
To that one, like, there's a reason why these AI whisperer jobs are six-figure opportunities now. And it's because working with AI, it doesn't make it necessarily easier. It just changes the work. Like, you're not doing less work because you have AI, you're just doing different work. And I think what John just described is a perfect example of that. Like, if you don't put that upfront time that you talked about, you're going to end up going back and forth arguing with the AI tool that you're using to get the result you want anyways. So it just was like a reminder of, efficiency is not laziness. I really like the way that John put that.
Of course, our copywriter comes up with the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Without AI.
I got that from you, Doug. I got that from you.
That's all you. You just made it better. Okay, Ben, you can kick off this last segment and then we will take it home. I have not been online, so John, I don't know if anyone can see the comments, if there's any questions or anything. But Ben, you can kick off that final segment here. So I check our comments.
Yeah,
the prompt of the week segment.
Our non-prompt of the week, since we're
our non-prompt. It goes back to what you were saying about what your LinkedIn post. it is a non-prompt. It's kind of a prompt for the prompter is don't forget to be human. Take a pen and paper and write down the best ways that you know how to communicate with people and use those as the context for when you're prompting an AI tool. You need human spins on everything. You need to remember the purpose of your content, and that a robot might not know the best way to communicate with your audience, but you do, and you have to train it to do so.
And like that messaging context, like you'd be shocked at how deep people can go. And I think if you just have in the back of your mind how to set context, it's so powerful. And just like when you're driving around, if you have a notepad, or if you can take even just 10 minutes and figure out, how do I speak to my ideal clients? Like, what are some of the specific phrases I use? And ironically, this goes back to how John broke it. But the more you can train it to have an understanding of how you speak, some of the nuances, might be some acronyms, for example, like different industry jargon, depending on who you are, your customer might know exactly what that thing means. Like, if I say LTV, every single marketer is going to be like, oh, lifetime value. But to somebody else, they might look at you cross-eyed and be like, speaking Spanish, like what LTV means nothing to me. So taking the time to figure out how to train it, because remember, it's a language model and it's learning the language you teach it. So taking time and sitting down and explaining context is going to accelerate the performance of what AI is capable of doing across any tools. And the same thing is for data sets. Like, imagine forgetting a column. That column could be the difference between a successful ad campaign and not. So making sure that you give it relevant information that is like in line with what you're trying to do is going to make massive differences in how you leverage the tools and what you're going to garbage in, garbage out. And the more time you take to refine the messaging, work with the tools, the better and better things are coming. And Ben, as you mentioned it, like when you say these AI whisperers, I think we're going to see more and more of those come up, because that's where the real beauty comes out, is understanding how to leverage the tool. And John, you've said it a few times, it's not about replacing people. It's understanding how to help people have a greater focus on high intent things and things that are going to make a true impact.
Yeah, I would just say, like, to add on to that, like one of the things that I've been working on a lot recently is, and it's not a new thing, is it's just the tone of the messages that, and setting that context so that the AI that you're using is understanding what tone it needs to produce and what it's writing. And whether that's, providing past examples of something that you want it to kind of emulate, or, just describing the, who it's talking to and what it's trying to convey, and the tone of voice of these, the audience responds to. I think that's just a huge one, is just that the tone of the message, and that is long before AI ever existed. Is tone goes a long way. So, yeah.
I think that got ruined by all caps in a chat reply via text. But Ben, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Nope, that's all I got.
Glorious. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Those live, please leave those comments on LinkedIn. Give us some of those ideas, questions, burning pains you have, how you want to connect on LinkedIn. Until next week, everybody, take care. Have an awesome week.